It's a shame. It's a shame. This is a beautiful place and it has all the assets that you'd want in a community. But it does not have law enforcement outside the city limits of Grants Pass. People don't want to live like that. It's the most lawless situation I've ever seen. It'll be a nice place to look at, but it won't be a nice place to live. I'd say that in some ways we're already there.
So 2012 for the city of Grants Pass, for instance, we really felt it. We had no ability to take people to jail who had stolen cars, burglaries committed where we took them at gunpoint. Those folks could not be lodged in the county jail, so we had to issue them tickets or citations. Only the most violent offenders could we lodge in the jail at that time with staffing.
Yesterday, I go to a burglary in progress where a 16-year-old girl is at home alone. Within a matter of minutes after making that situation safe, I have to scramble up to another part of the county, the north end, to where there's a stolen vehicle. Over the weekend, we have a situation where there's, in essence, a shootout in O'Brien. And the night before, we have a motor vehicle crash wherein there was a DUI alleged, and a man was killed. So, you can take these statistics and talk about what the statistics mean to the public. I'm talking about what life and death means, because in two of those situations, people lost their lives. This is in a matter of 3 days.
We're not going to let people run us out of where we live, and so we've had to take measures into our own hands at times. We've been taking people out of these houses, getting them to leave some of these foreclosed homes. But when you go inside, they're tore up. They've been using them as bathrooms and garbage pits and everything else. Syringes all over the place. And the thing about being in the county is a lot of these people, the drug dealers and people like that are stealing property in Grants Pass, are coming back out and keeping it in the county because they know there's no oversight out here. There's nobody that can keep tabs on them, Well, some of us are.
I came here when I was 10 years old. My family moved here from a highly populated, high crime area, and we came here and it was wonderful. It didn't lock doors, didn't worry about that kind of thing. Kids downtown in the evenings, and we just had a great time here, and it's not the same. But real recently it's gotten much more problematic. The people going by way late at night are up to no good, and there's a lot of that. But there's been a bit of an influx lately of those that are really undesirable, that they just don't want to comply. They don't care what they steal. They'll take, like I say, a church heat pump. They'll cut through the chain link fences on the city and steal tools. They'll cut through padlocks, and locks don't mean as much to some. And it definitely has brought the quality of life down out here in a pretty big way.
We were called out to a home out in Cave Junction for an apparent suicide. And myself and one of our staff members went out. When we arrived, there was no law enforcement on scene, no medical personnel. We were unable to get a hold of anyone at that time. Even calling the calling back, trying to get a hold of someone with dispatch. We were actually ended up going all the way over to Central Point to the state police, and they had to inform us at that time that they had no one available to come out to Cave Junction.
We had a reported structure fire that turned out to be a burglary in progress. We've been called to chest pain calls because it's a domestic violence issue. We were called to a seizure call, and the individual threatened all of the responders to kill us all. And those are happening. They know that if you call in somebody having chest pain or you call in a fire, that lots of people with lights and sirens are going to show up. But unfortunately, we're not equipped to handle those types of calls.
Any youth that is in a, let's say, a serious case of abuse or neglect that is unable to penetrate the system because of lack of services, I think that's a crisis with one kid. And we don't just see that with one kid. We see that in great numbers right now. We're just unable to get to a population that is vulnerable and needs our help, and we're unable to give that right now. And so, yes, in my mind, that's absolutely a crisis, and we can do better.
Broken arms, broken noses, lost teeth, broken jaws. Some of the ugliest black eyes I've ever seen. The abusers, it's like ollie, ollie, oxen free. You know, nobody's going to come as long as I get out of here before she makes the phone call or shortly thereafter. And for her, that there's no help there. She's on her own.
The amount of gunfire that we took that afternoon, it started at 2:30 in the afternoon. It continued until about 10 o'clock that night. My response, we called the Sheriff's Department at 2:30 that afternoon. We didn't get any response. We called the Sheriff's Department again at 4:30, got no response. Called again about 6:30, still had no response. At that time, at 7 o'clock at night, when I wanted to return phone calls, dispatch has turned over because the state troopers take over Josephine County because the sheriffs are off the clock at 7 o'clock at night. The state troopers got on the phone with me through the 911 dispatch, and they said it didn't meet their criteria. It didn't meet their criteria, and that right there blew me away, that I am taking gunshots. My neighbor and I are taking gunshots. Their bullets are flying over our home. My life's in danger, my neighbor's life's in danger, and I have this kid that's over on this property saying that he can't stand his neighbors, he's gonna take us all down.
I never would come down here at night carrying a gun before, but I do now. So I guess I do feel much less safe. I feel like I better be ready to protect myself. I don't even ever want to imagine myself having to shoot at somebody or even threaten to do that. And when I come down here at night, when I know there's somebody in the building, you have your heart in your mouth. You don't know what you're facing. It's very, very frightening. So yeah, you can protect yourself to some extent, but it's a dangerous tightrope to be walking on. You know, I don't want to go on the outside of the law. And sometimes something that you've worked really hard for your whole life, being threatened and being, you want to protect it. And how far can you go? What are you going to do to protect it?
I think where we're at right now, it's a dangerous time for the men and women in law enforcement who try to go out there and do that job. I think anybody who gets into this business of policing and trying to protect citizens feels like you arrest somebody, they go to jail, they get tried, they go serve their time, and then they get back into the community where they're on probation. When you're not getting that, and we perpetuate more, it becomes, in my opinion, much more dangerous, not just for the officers, but also for the community of these folks who feel like there's no consequences.
The Sheriff's Department needs help, and you know, just to say no taxes, no new, I mean, come to the table with something. Bring some ideas to the table, but don't insult people's intelligence by saying that we don't need law enforcement, because we do. It's going to take a child getting killed or hurt severely, or you know, somebody in a house, a home invasion or something that makes the news big, for people to finally start realizing and screaming out.